Hello, this is Claudia Johnson. Welcome to the monthly Law Help Interactive Community Call. Just one announcement that the call will be recorded and we will post the recording in the resource page for document assembly, and we'll circulate that through the newsletter and the list, and then one-on-one if people want to review the recording or look at the PowerPoint. Today, we're very excited because we have a special guest. We have Margaret Hamlett, who many of you may already know from working in the technology community. Margaret is in Oklahoma, and we have been working with her on a project that we used to call events, and we have renamed LHI Connect, which is new functionality in the back end of LHI that allows for easy sharing and easy document co-production between end users, attorneys, and pro bono coordinators. So without more, I will turn over the presentation to Margaret, and then after her presentation, which will be around half the call in 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes, we'll take a little break to see if there are questions or feedback or anything related to the Connect piece, and we'll unmute everyone on the call, or people can raise their hand or chat us. And then after that, we're going to go to the general LHI announcements, software updates, timelines, code pushes, and the routine LHI business. So, Margaret?
Great, thank you. I'm really excited about this project. We've been thinking about this and talking about it for a number of years, and it's been really exciting this summer to see it finally coming together. So this LHI Connect is a part of a TIG grant. Next slide, Claudia. And so for the content, we chose expunging a criminal record. And it has two parts to improve or add a new functionality to the Law Help platform for our OK Law site, the Guide Me, which is kind of a tabbed learning module, and then also for the LHI side, the Connect, the formerly known as Events feature. And then we have Live Help, and then, of course, the evaluation process. So next slide. So for the process, really overall, the client, the pro se user, is going to come to our Law Help site and learn about an expungement, and there's kind of a two-step process I'll show you within the Guide Me module. They're going to fill out an LHI interview, which is going to put information into our Connect point so that this user data can be accessed by the pro bono coordinator, and the pro bono coordinator will contact the user, screen them for appropriateness for the program, that we have all the information, and also eligibility for LSC pro bono requirements. The pro bono coordinator will then assign the case to a pro bono lawyer who can, through LHI, review the information and respond to the pro se by going into a hot docs interview and creating those court forms and instructions, and then getting those to the pro se user by whatever method they agree to, whether it's email or mailing or an in-person communication if they need that. So next slide. So we're working with outreach partners all over the state. As a matter of fact, for access by this, we're hoping that our pro se users for this expungement project are going to come find the Law Help Interactive, our OK Law page, and look at that Guide Me there, find our Live Help button somewhere. Our own legal aid staff will be referring clients to this internally. We have outreach partners all over the state through the workforce community, and then our library partners as well. And we focused on the workforce partner because, at least in our experience, the two places this shows up in Oklahoma, I'm sure it's the same everywhere, are I need a job and I need a place to live. We've had some success with some of our on-site housing partners, but really the big excitement in our community is through our workforce partners. So next slide. So the user is going to come to our Guide Me module, and you see the display is a little bit different. It's tabbed. We chose to use the 1, 2, 3. After some testing, we had used the chevrons as kind of arrows to show flow, but this is kind of the design we came down through. And next slide. So they're going to learn about the parts of getting an expungement, what may or may not qualify, and then we used incorporated into the Guide Me module, the tabbed and the FAQ expand as on the regular LHI on Pro Bono Net sites. Next slide. We're asking them to go get their OSBI background check, their copy of their criminal history record, because you have to look at that to know what to expunge. There are online records that we can also expunge. That's easier to access, but they do have to have this. We have to know what we're working for to look at the statute and see whether someone complies. So this first part, go ahead, next slide. We show them how to get their OSBI records. When they click on that, they're going to, at the bottom, they're going to open up an online interview. And next slide. And that interview is going to just do its normal job, gather information and create a form. So the next slide. Same end staging or landing page, I guess, I don't remember what you call it, Claudia, at the very end, the same page where they can opt to save the answers, get their document, and go ahead, next slide. They will get the OSBI background check form, which they need to then submit to the OSBI and get that report back to us before they come back to the Guide Me module. Next slide. So they're going to come back to the Guide Me and ask for help. This is the part where they're going to ask and the connect point comes in. So they're going to learn what they need to do. Next slide. And normally, and we also need them to submit this online form, but you see the link to the, sorry, that's an old testing screenshot. They're going to go to another interview, but next slide. When they click on this to go to the interview, it's not going to look like a regular interview. This is the connect point look. And we've just been doing some testing and changing on, Claudia's been working with their tech team. It's probably going to look a little different than this, even than what we have shown here, but they're coming to our point, and they're going, the first part is the terms of use. Users can use this anonymously. They're not actually signing in at this point, but we do need to make sure that they understand that we are going to be sharing the answers and the documents with lawyers, with pro bono lawyers, with legal aid. So next slide, they're going to click on submit. And then this part of the connect point is actually going to take them to the proper online interview. And you see one's expunged, one's divorced, so it's just playing with this on the shot. But there's room to put one or more interviews or one or more links. So it's pretty flexible. And again, I think it's going to look a little bit different than this. We did some design testing a bit back and have agreed that this didn't quite work for our users, but we're working out some of the new details. So next slide. They're going to, at this point, be accepting those terms that it's going to be shared, and they're using this particular interview. They're going to fill out the interview. Next slide, just as normal. And they're either going to save their answers, get their document, and if they've signed up, they can email their documents about the next step. And this information is going to let them know that the pro bono coordinator has now received their submission, and we're going to get back with them quickly and what they need to do to keep moving forward in the process. Next slide, please. The instructions and information are going to look a little bit like this. Next slide. So the pro bono coordinator, how they interact with this. I don't have shots of this, and I apologize, but prior to this, obviously, the pro bono coordinator and the Connect coordinator have worked together to set up this whole Connect point, so I don't have slides to that, but it's a really easy add Connect point, fill out the information. You can see what how it creates. You attach the interviews, both the pro se and the advocate interviews to it, so it's a pretty simple workflow. So from this point, next slide, please. The pro bono coordinator has gotten a notice, and it comes in the form of a daily batch email that someone has, or many people have submitted answers into the Connect point. Next slide, please. So the pro bono coordinator is going to go to the Connect point, and it's going to look kind of like this. We've made a couple of changes, but it's aggregated all of the answers or the responses to our Connect interview in this one Connect point. So next slide, please. So the pro bono coordinator has a couple of different options as to how they review the information submitted by the pro se user. They can click on this second column answer file and go right to that answer file, or on the right hand side in that little red circle, the button that looks kind of like a play button on a video is an email So you can email the answers to yourself or to another coordinator, or the far right one is not so clear here, but it's a download, and you can actually open up the complete documents that the ProSe user had opened up, and that has some particular functionality for our project and how we approached it. And I hope others will find that useful in how they begin to create their Connect. So next slide, please. So this is just a shot of how they can go right to the interview, or they can open it up, that download button. Next slide, please. So we're using just the regular interview to screen out the or screen in the applicants and use this as our contact page. Next slide, please. So the ProSe is going to be screened for assistance in our program by the pro bono coordinator. They're going to locate the OSBI background, check the criminal history report, and then get any other additional document that we need from the client to actually submit this to a pro bono lawyer. Next page. So the pro bono coordinator is ready to assign this to a volunteer lawyer. They're going to come back to the LHI Connect point. And next slide, please. Click on the name of the Connect point. And then on the fifth column over Assign To, the other part of setting up a Connect point initially is to assign advocates to that Connect. So whether you have a one-time event or a particular program, for our program, we recruited a bunch of, probably another 35 or so volunteer lawyers that we're training specifically for this expungement project. So we will add them, and these lawyers are folks that have LHI accounts. So you're just, when you assign the lawyers to the Connect point, you're just selecting from lawyers who have already joined the LHI site as advocates. So the pro bono coordinator comes down and assigns each particular case by just selecting that advocate from the drop-down. Next slide, please. And there's a shot of what it looks like. The answer file is now assigned to this particular advocate. So next screen, please. So this is the beginning of what happens with the volunteer lawyer. They're going to get an automated email that says, "We appreciate your help. You've been assigned a case. Sign in with your username." We included their username and password, so I find that to be helpful with the pro bono lawyers that I've worked with. And it gives them explicit instructions on how to access the answer files. Next screen, please. So the lawyer is coming back and signing in. Next screen. They are instructed to go to the LHI Connect point. Next screen. And then when they open that Connect point, and they may be assigned maybe to several if they're a lawyer that's a quite active volunteer or, say, a legal aid advocate. Next screen, please. And they will only have access to the answer files to which they've been assigned, as opposed to the previous use by Citizenship Works. In the event there's a large bucket with all the answer files in it, this is a one-to-one connect. So next screen, please. So the advocate can go right to, when they click on the answer file, go right to the advocate interview, or they can access the others if they need to, say, see how something approached a question or something. But they can go right through, and next slide, please, shows they go ahead and open up the hot docs interview, which thanks them and then runs through the entire expungement process, pulling out the information and allowing the advocate to look at the information they've gotten from us, the OSBI background check, and any online information. They also need to look at the statute and pull it through. And then at the end of that interview, next slide, please, when they've finished, they will actually just create the instructions and the pleadings and everything they need to send to the ProSe user. And of course, they may or may not be editing the instructions depending on the situation, probably will be. And they may be providing advice only if the user isn't actually eligible at this point. And the way our statutes read, some people have to wait in 10 years, some people 2. They may have to ask for a pardon first, just any number of outcomes. So they will be able to manipulate that in a Word doc and send that on to the ProSe litigant, for the ProSe litigant then to complete the expungement process. And next slide. So for our project, we've got partners actually all over the state. We're using in a rural community, a self-help center, and of course our public and court law libraries. We've done trainings and made announcements through our annual bar outreach CLE events, and then we're having free CLE events for the expungement lawyers that we're training specifically on this, both the actual LHI process and on the substantive content for expungements. And then we are using our live help law students for our online chat support for the users. So that's about all I had. Any questions?
Okay, let's open it up. If you have questions, can you raise your hand or chat us, and we can unmute you, see if there's questions about this LHI Connect functionality.
Well, I'm really excited about this because we're looking already at other uses for this, of gathering information from clients or others that we need to process different types of cases. So.
Yeah, so where we are right now is we've done 2 rounds of coding on this, and right now it's soft launched, and we're going to do some additional enhancements based on feedback from Oklahoma. And then evaluation is targeted to start next year. And so when we go to evaluation, that's when we may think we may open it up to others in the LSC community who want to use this functionality on the back end. The main benefit of this is that allows people to create interviews and answer sets and share them with pro bono coordinators and pro bono lawyers without them having to create an account and remember login, or having to go into LHI and use the regular LHI share features. For the lawyers, it basically creates a queue where they can go and check their assigned answers, and then they can open the lawyer interviews or open the answer sets with the SRL interviews, and then they can continue co-producing the documents. So we're hoping that this is something that will be helpful to workflows that are both remote and hopefully in rural communities where the lawyers may want to be reviewing documents without having to travel. We hope to eventually also be sharing this with a courthouse in California that's going to play with this in the context of having the self-help center staff review the pleadings and then the clerk accept them and submit them into their case management system. So the personas are pretty flexible, and we look forward to hearing from people who are interested in this to hopefully see if we are ready to open it up sometime in March of next year. But let's see if we have questions.
We have one comment from Sheila Fisher, and it's impressive. Okay. Will be very helpful in assisting pro se litigants.
Thank you, Sheila. Yeah, we're excited too. I mean, the project, the base project for the original concept was an immigration project, which we share at the TIC conference, I think two years ago, maybe 3 years ago. We have built this basically from scratch in the new LHI site, trying to really deal with some of the functionality that we knew was not working in the prior version of this. So a lot of thought has gone in, both from our partners in Oklahoma, but also our tech team here. And we're hoping it's going to be a useful way to kind of leverage, if you already have existing forms, a way to leverage and promote this kind of sharing and remote workflow.
Margaret, this is Mark Lawrence, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about next steps, other usage context. I mean, it seems like it's a great way to leverage, kind of go from resale to wholesale delivery of services. I mean, what's next in your own pipeline?
Well, I was just thinking about just questionnaires that we ask our clients to fill out, or information that we gather here, our lawyers or paralegals are gathering. So if we're beginning some sort of a divorce based on domestic violence, and we have a client who is capable and has access to a computer, is capable of putting the information together, filling out a real short gathering, just to gather content for the actual divorce forms or a decree package or whatever's been negotiated by a mediator, or and same with our guardianships. I've been talking to our individual law offices and asking them to begin contemplating, and I've seen a lot of people think, we could do this or that. So we're really beginning to see some lights come on and just the possibilities.
So a connect point doesn't need to be a specific event or a time-limited window, right? It can be sort of an ongoing environment in which lawyers and clients collaborate.
Exactly, and that was exactly what we wanted to be sure and accomplish with this. For example, I know the predecessor, they just used it one day only. With the expungement project particularly, this is just going to be rolled out and made available so that it's an ongoing process where a user can come to the site, get their information, submit it back to us through that Ask for Help button, and then this will be an ongoing process of us dealing with requests for expungements. We typically don't do them in our offices. We have a lot of lawyers who, and the other great, I think, functionality here is we're talking about limited scope services for lawyers, and we are really beginning to see interest among the lawyers that are not in legal aid type jobs or consist of volunteers, but lawyers who've been in practice for a long time, seeing the uses and the need for limited scope services. So this has spurred a conversation with our state bar and our Supreme Court about how are we handling this rollout, how are we training lawyers to look at limited scope services, what can they do. So I kind of see this as a continuum that we're going to begin working more with the bar and helping them see what we're learning about limited scope services and how those really play out.
It's exciting.
Yeah. So we'll be
probably in law schools, I mean, that's another context.
Exactly.
Involving law students, I was just suggesting if you're thinking about that scenario where the students are playing some role in this process.
Yeah, where students are preparing pleadings and then having them reviewed by legal aid or pro bono supervisors, this could be a really helpful way to organize the answers by clinic. So definitely, the personas, the name, pro bono coordinator, connect coordinator, those are roles that, can be modified for local use. But the capacity to share the answers on the back end and then allow the reviewer the option to open up with one interview or the other, depending on what it is that they're going to do for that person, it's very powerful because it's very modular. So a connect point can have 2 interviews, it could have 5. We're not limiting the number in that, and as long as everybody's in the same organization, they will be, if they're part of the connect point that they're assigned to, they can be assigned answers to. And it's all happening on the back end. Everything is password protected. So it's a very nice capacity building tool.
And I just wanted to read out a related comment made by Sheila just a few minutes ago. LHI Connect could also help in-house legal aid clinics move to automated forms instead of paper forms and have better oversight.
Yeah, instead of having to fax papers, now you can just share them. And then in the connect point, a minor point, but in the connect point, you'll be able to open them or close them as you want. So like you can designate that this connect is now closed and not allow for any more sharing until you're ready to reopen it again. So in that way, it's going to be, whoever is organizing the connect event or point, they will have the capacity to open. Let's say it's a Sunday clinic or it's something that's done once a month. You can open it up, share the link, people can use it, and then when you want to not have anything else going and be shared, you close it, and then it won't be live, it won't be served. So we're really excited to see how people take it and add to it, you know, and we're very open to feedback, and that's why we're thinking that we're gonna maybe, if we have the bandwidth, open it up to groups that are interested in it before we close the evaluation on the project in 2016, so that we can get additional feedback. But we will definitely be bringing in a court in, I'm hoping sometime in November, where they will work with us in their own self-help versus, you know, with a clerk review of filings, and get their feedback as an access to justice partner on that. So very excited. Well, thanks a lot for sharing, Margaret. Really appreciate you sharing the plan and the full view with the guide me and how you go from the web page to the form to the sharing and all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's another question from Deborah Jennings, by the way. Miranda, maybe you want to read it?
Sure. Can you speak to how issues of preserving end-user confidentiality are addressed on the back end?
Well, the users will have to agree, and we're going to actually keep a log of their name and date when they accept to agree. So on top of, you know, LHI has firewall, LHI has up-to-date encryption on answers, right? We have the routine LHI security, but on top of that, users will have to agree. And let me show you the screen if you missed that. If they don't agree to share, they won't be able to use the interview. Once they agree to share, only the lawyers assigned to the event will have access to those answers. So they're not going to see everybody else's in the container, only the ones that are manually assigned to them by the pro bono coordinator. And both the pro bono coordinator and the lawyer will have to log in to LHI to be able to answer the assigned answers. So, you know, these terms of use here, where they will agree to share, these will be modifiable by the program. Each program will write, this has a limit, of course, it's 1024 characters, but these will be controlled by the group that is creating the event. So you will be able to disclose to your users who is sharing with whom for what. And once the person puts in their name and last name and they accept, they'll be able to go forward. So I don't know if this answers the question, but that's kind of the philosophy of this, is that the legal aid will disclose to their users, and once the users accept, and that's how the sharing will start.
Looks like there's another question or comment. Oh, yeah, comment. It does. Thank you. Sounds exciting.
Okay. Okay. So we'll keep you posted on this as it develops. And like we said, we're going to do some more coding in October and in December to modify some of the screens based on user feedback. So it's still a work in progress, but I'm hoping that sometime March we will have the full documentation ready to share, to teach people how to use it, and then start connecting with programs that may want to work with this backend functionality. Okay. So we'll move on then to the part that's the regular call. And Miranda, do you want me to go or do you want to go?
You can go ahead.
Okay. So we have started our online training this fall. It's going well. We have about 10 to 15 attendees. We have done 2 lessons so far. And we're excited about working with this new group of developers. We are planning already for January 2016, and it's going to be the live training that we do, thanks with LSC, because they let us piggyback on the conference. So it'll be the 2 days, the Monday and Tuesday before the official TIC conference kicks off on the Wednesday of that week. And we will be doing registration and all of that soon, but it's already in the trainings page, in the resource page. So feel free to check it out or start thinking about whether there are people in your programs that may want to come to a hands-on developer training. That one will have a cap because we want to keep them small and workshop-based. So as soon as we announce the announcement, we're going to start accepting registration on a first-come, first-served basis. And we may poll the list shortly to see if there's an interest in an advanced day for more advanced developers to cover specific topics. So we're starting to plan, and it's going to start in earnest once we wrap up the one that we're doing right now. The other thing is that there's some national conferences coming up, including the NLADA conference in November. And I'm going to be there on behalf of Pro Bono Net and LHI. So if anybody wants to connect about projects while I'm there, if you're going in person, let me know. Meeting in person sometimes is funner than meeting on a go-to-meeting. And we're going to be doing, Pro Bono Net is going to be doing a couple workshops, including one on domestic violence and online forms. So look for that in the agenda if you're going, and we'll post that also on the resource page once we come back from the conference. The other thing is that there is an invite. Oh, and then there's the TIC conference, which is in January, which I already kind of alluded to. So check it out because it gets full pretty fast. The other thing, A to J author timeline. We have been working with our A to J author partners at Cali, and we are looking to release a testing environment sometime in September or October. We still don't have some upload pieces that are necessary so that we can have you test, upload, and all that. Once we get that, we will release a testing site. And what we were thinking about doing is releasing it to a small group of states that have already A to J author 5 interviews done. So if you have A to J 5 author interviews that you want to use to test, let us know and email me or Miranda, because we want to work with a small group of states for a little bit and before we open it up to the full community to make sure that we can work out the kinks. Once we work with this small group of states that have content ready to go, then the plan is to open it up to the full community, and we will do what we always do, which is stand up a server and put a log of everything that's been reported. As it gets fixed, update that with the eye to hopefully release in production by December 15th. If for some reason this gets delayed any further, it could be that we have to move this to next year. So right now we're at a very crucial stage of finishing the final coding on the upload pieces, and hopefully we will get done those in the next week or two. If not, we may have to push it out because we have other projects and commitments to do. So just wanted to update people on that. We have upcoming code releases and maintenance work. We're doing routine maintenance work now every third Saturday. And so we will send this to the list, but just a reminder that this happen and they don't take a lot of time. But if you're a developer and you're trying to do something every third Saturday, the server will be down for about 30 minutes. And for the rest of the year, we have 2 code pushes that we're going to work on, one in mid-October and one in December. And for the October code push, some of the things that might be coming up is we're going to do some enhancements to answer deletion functionality. So account holders who have court or advocate accounts may be getting emails from LHI letting them know that their interviews that are 11 months, the answer sets that are 11 months will be deleted unless they touch them. And so that's something just want to flag in case we get that done. We may ask some of you to help us test it, or once we go live, this is going to be something that happens on a routine basis. The other thing is that we've been working on some kind of reusing answers from one interview to another, and so we hope that we have that issue finally addressed. It's an issue that has been alive since probably last December, so hopefully something that we can share in the release once we do it in October. And then we have some Minnesota court integration enhancements for the e-filing project there. and some of the Connect improvements that we referred to before. So we'll be sharing more details of what's included in October, but I think it'll be a very nice slate. We haven't decided what is going in for December, but it would probably be LHI Analytics pieces that we're working with Minnesota, and more Connect work, and hopefully the A to J author push if we get that ready to go these next 2 weeks. In terms of other announcements, in LHI, the Legal Aid Association of Hawaii, the Legal Aid Society of Hawaii, LASH, did get a TIG grant to help us take LHI and make it mobile enabled. So this is a project we're going to be working with LASH. And we're very excited because it will allow us to look at all the mobile functionality of LHI and see how we fine-tune the system to be compatible with handheld devices. So more details, we'll be sharing more details on the project. We'll start in January. The other project that we're really excited about is that we're working with Angela Tripp and Bob Oven. We're going to be, they're going to be writing a utility that will allow developers to take out and put in text. The idea being that in the hot docs templates only, and the idea being that they will be able to use this utility to either put the text into Excel sheets for plain language or for a target language that's not English, and then save a lot of time and hours in terms of manually taking out or entering text into their hot docs interviews. So this is going to be a project that we'll be partnering in, and it's going to start in 2016. One reminder is that the upload URL for A to J author modules changed in April, and some of you may have been using the old one, so I just wanted to flash the correct one in case that's an issue. Yeah, we've been focusing a lot on these VOCA funding opportunities that are coming up across the states. We just posted the NLADA call that happened on this in the funding folder in the resource page for those of you who are interested in that. And in the August call of last month, we covered projects on DV, so just wanted to flag that in case you haven't heard about the funding increase for working with victims of rape and domestic violence and assault in the civil context. What else? We have other announcements. Submissions for EJC, they're due on the 14th. It's in Chicago next year, so it's easy to get in and out. May 12th to May 16th, if anybody's interested in submitting a topic jointly or wants to know what we're submitting so that there's no overlap or we can get merged, reach out to us. Happy to consider. And then lastly, some LHI software announcements. We have decided that as of January 2016, we will stop supporting IE8. So part of this is that IE8 will finally stop being supported by Microsoft then. And so we have decided that because we have limited resources, we are no longer going to do major testing or assistance when IE8 issues come up in LHI, as it's going to be a defunct browser. And we're just going to focus on the newer versions of all the browsers. So just wanted to put that out there. The other thing is that for developers that are uploading with HotDocs 10.2, we really encourage you to move to HotDocs 11 because we know that not all the uploads work. And at some point, we will stop fully supporting templates that are in 10.2. So just again, an encouragement, strong encouragement to talk to your program about buying the HotDocs 11 license. The license is available at a 70% discount from the HotDocs Corporation. It is a purchase. It's not a free license, but it's a 70% discount, and I put the URL there if you want to read about that. And just a reminder that there's a lot of really good reasons to move to HotDocs 11. We did a call in April, and Mark, I don't know if you want to highlight any of all the new enhancements and functionality in HotDocs 11 So it's not just, that it's the newer and whatever, but it's really a much better developing tool for purposes of hot docs interviews and assemblies and the way the server works with it. So
yeah, it's a major upgrade in hot docs. It's got some really neat features that are long awaited, like parameters and local variables, which people are encouraged to use. But Claudia's point is that it's well calibrated with the current hot docs server 11 that we're running on LHI. And if you want to be sure you have a trouble-free experience, or as relatively trouble-free experience as a developer, your life will be much easier and simpler, and so will ours on the support end if you use hot docs 11 and move away from hot docs 10.
So if you're doing budgeting for next year and you don't have a hot docs 11, you can talk to your finance director and put that in your budget for next year.
Claudia, you may be a little bit.
And that's
okay. You were just
Okay.
breaking up for a second.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for letting me know. So that's about it for announcements. I don't know if people have questions or want us to comment on anything else or give more details. If people can raise their hand or put it on the chat. No. Okay, well, nothing wrong with early, a little bit early. So the next call is going to be on October 27th, which is the fourth Thursday of next month. We are targeting it to be a technical call. And hopefully, if we are moving forward with the A to J Author 5, hopefully it will be a more substantive update on that. And hopefully by then, if there are programs that have 5 content ready to test, and we have done that, maybe it's an update on that. But we will be announcing the topic. As always, we welcome suggestions on technical and non-technical topics to focus on. And so just feel free to email Miranda or I. And look out for information on the registration for the training with TIG. And maybe a poll too, to see if people want to do advanced training and suggestions on what would be good advanced topics to cover on a day when we're all together. Okay. So no more questions or topics to discuss?
Doesn't look like there's any more questions. And the recording of this webinar and the materials will be posted in our resource center later this week if you want to review them or share them with folks who may have missed the call. So thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you, Margaret.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.